There we go. We are live. That always startles me when that woman's voice pops up. Um, but thank you all for being here tonight. I'll stop my share for one moment and just speak to everybody. Um, so my name is Justin Bates. I work for Abode Energy Management. We are incredibly excited to be representing. I'm incredibly excited to be representing our company here, and are excited to be working with the Hingham Municipal Light Plant to electrify your home's heating and cooling systems. I want to first thank Tom Morahan and Brianna Bennett at HMLP. They are wonderful partners in this work, and we are proud to be a part of their program, and are proud to be bringing you this presentation in coordination with them tonight. So I want to give the folks at HMLP a quick shout out there. So again, thank you all for being here tonight. So let's get started. Let's talk heat pumps. Um, just a quick overview. We will be covering the technology, the application in your home, the rebates, the generous rebates to electrify that Hingham Municipal Light Plant offers, the rebate process itself, because we have heard from residents, it's always good to kind of walk us through and make sure we're comfortable with what the expectations of the program are, so that everyone can get a rebate who deserves a rebate, right? Um, and we also have some time for a little bit of Q&A. We have some tips and tricks for working with installers. So we got a good amount of information to cover tonight, and we'll try to do it um, in a quick fashion, right? We don't want to take too much of our evening away, but we will save some time at the end for a Q&A. Um, so speaking of Q&A, you'll see in the bottom of your screen right there a Q&A button. That's how we're going to communicate tonight, where you can type in any and all questions on heat pumps and the program itself, right? Again, we'll have some time at the end to answer some of those questions. I will say, just as a caveat here, the more technical and nuanced, almost project specific or home unique questions will be much better answered by one of my colleagues, a heat pump specialist, right? Through HMLP, you all have access to no cost consultations with Abode's heat pump specialists. These are people who have decades of HVAC experience and will be able to answer any and all questions that you may have, right? These are people with a really deep expertise in the field, and we're lucky to have them on my team, and HMLP offering this as a service, I think is an incredible opportunity for you all. Um, the summer is always incredibly busy. I will also offer that. So if you're looking to the fall and winter to install, I would recommend scheduling a consultation, or at least scheduling ahead for a consultation, because we have seen a lot of interest in the last few weeks. So I'll be happy to share our website link. I'll sprinkle it in throughout the webinar a few times. But let's get started. Let's jump in and learn about our heat pumps here. So I'm hoping y'all can see my screen. I'll be looking back and forth. So excuse my darting eyes here. So I think the kind of natural place to start this presentation are, what are heat pumps, right? Heat pumps in the last few, I would say years even, have gained a lot of recognition, and even the last few months. Let's specify even farther. They are highly efficient electric alternatives to your home's heating and cooling needs, right? These are systems that will replace your boiler furnace for heating, and maybe a central AC or window unit for AC, right? Or if you're like me, a fan. I would definitely love a heat pump, but fans for now in the summer heat is what I'm dealing with. Um, so again, going back to the question, what is heat pumps, right? I think it's always helpful to put the efficiency of a heat pump, because you'll see on the slide they provide high efficiency heating and cooling. But what does that mean, right? Um, Most modern boilers are just over 90% efficient, right? That means for every 1 unit of power that is consumed, they will produce just under 1 unit of heating power. It's not a one for one, it's not a more than one. They are losing energy in some form. Furnaces fall in the range of 85 to 95% efficient. So again, they're losing energy. Heat pumps are different, right? Two of the most popular models that I like to point to from different manufacturers, actually showing the range in the market, are 410 and 610% efficient at a benchmark of 47 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a rated temperature, right? That's a huge difference going from 90 to a couple hundred. Um, it's a huge difference. Now, heat pumps don't always maintain such high, we call them COPs, but they are always above one. So they are that, again, spotlighting the highly efficient nature of their heating and cooling capabilities. They're just more efficient, right? Um, they also improve indoor air quality, right? They're not burning fossil fuels in your home, so there's no byproduct there. But they can also be fixed to capture airborne contaminants, including dust, smoke, etc. There, right? They can be less expensive than traditional fossil fuel systems, especially oil and propane. And they can be on par with natural gas or slightly above, slightly below. It definitely depends on local rates, right? But homeowners who install air source heat pumps, right, also get that cooling component that has always been left out of a heating system. Um, so you can expect to save up to 30 to 50% on cooling costs as compared to a standard central air conditioning system. So there's a lot of baked in savings there, cost savings. So it's a cost effective option as well. Um, and then lastly, right, when powered by renewable energy, their environmental benefit is even greater. And right, shout out to Hingham's diversifying electric sources. Hingham has a 12% wind power, which is very exciting, right? And again, when paired with these clean sources, the environmental benefits are going to be even greater here. So a quick little overview here, and I really want to dive in and make sure people are familiar with what heat pumps look like, right? We're gonna talk about two main forms of setups, right? Ductless and ducted heat pumps. So just for some quick background, right? An air source heat pump uses electricity to power compressor and transfer heat using the same idea behind refrigerators. In the winter, it actually transfers heat indoors, as weird as that sound. And in summer, it transfers heat outdoors, right? It cooling down your space. You can kind of think of it as an air conditioner that works in reverse there. Um, Typically for a setup, you'll see a condenser outside, something that looks like a central AC unit, right? That typical kind of either block, or we have those more rectangular on stilts, it almost looks like. And those can be connected to either an air handler that's typically located in an attic or basement, or can be connected to what are called mini splits, right? Those what we're seeing on our page here in the top right hand corner, those rectangular white boxes. We actually have floor mounted units, and there are overhead ceiling cassettes units here. So there's a diversity of options that you can tap into as you are considering how you want to apply heat pumps in your home. So starting with that top right, that's a wall hung unit. Those are probably what most of us are familiar with when we're thinking about heat pumps. Um, these can be very easily hung on exterior walls and sometimes interior walls, depending on the situation. So there's some flexibility there. Uh, in the left part of this page here, you'll see a floor mount unit. I don't know what it is about these, but these are personally my favorite setup right here. They kind of remind me of a radiator, at least in where it would sit, some almost the shape of it too. These are becoming increasingly popular and are a great alternative to these wall hung units in the top right corner here. And then lastly, right in the bottom right is a ceiling cassette. And these can be mounted into your ceiling. So the bottom picture is actually a newer product that does a better job of fitting between joists in the ceilings, which was previously an issue. This was something that they worked through in terms of fitting in these ceiling cassettes in a kind of a manageable way in your home without any crazy alterations or adaptations there. Um, which I think actually highlights the evolution of this technology, right? They are making these units more and more practical to fit into the daily use, right? I actually saw a picture frame wall unit the other day, and it's exactly what you would think of when you would hear that. It's a picture frame with that blows air. It has a wall hung unit kind of behind it that is pushing air out in all directions. They're really doing amazing stuff with these this technology here. So I'm excited to see what it comes. But we have some really great options already here for us in the present. So that next set up our ducted indoor units. And we do get questions a lot, right? What if I had a central AC? How would a heat pump, can a heat pump utilize my existing ducts, right? Long story short, these systems can distribute hot or cold air using your existing ductwork. Um, these are considerations. There are considerations that go into this decision, right? You want to, if you have existing ductwork, you want to make sure that you get them tested. You want to make sure that there's no leakage, because right, if we have air circulating through the house in these ducts, we want to make sure that they're getting from point A, that air handler, to the different vents throughout your house without leaking out, right? We want to maintain the high efficiency nature of these heat pumps. Um, but when people do ask the question, hey, does my existing ductwork work? I would say ask your contractor, ask an installer, ask the person that is coming into your home and giving you quotes. Um, because we work with contractors, and Hingham has access to what is called the participating contractor list, which is a pretty robust list of contractors who are experienced in the field, have dealt with a whole heck of a bunch of different home setups, and will be able to kind of walk you through what the options for your home are, especially kind of laying out the cost, what it will take to maintain existing ductwork, if you want to install new ductwork, right? There are all these different options, and luckily we have installers in the state who are adept with this technology, and can kind of guide you in the right direction. So you'll see listed on this page here, we have two different ducted types. One is compact and the other is centrally ducted. Um, so compact, I don't know if you can see my mouse there. It's usually more zonal based, right, where we have them satisfying the heating and cooling needs of maybe a floor or a wing. It's typically set up in probably 2 to 4 rooms is usually where it works best. Whereas those centrally ducted units can distribute heat and cool air through ductwork connected to vents throughout the entirety of a home, or at least a much larger area there. Um, right, and I think that I always like to, before we move on, while we're talking about the technology itself, I like to just throw in there, um, in cold climates like Massachusetts, I'm about to dispel a myth here, right? High efficiency cold climate air source heat pumps can and do provide 100% of a home's heating and cooling needs. There's no doubt about it, right? So two common myths are that air source heat pumps cannot heat below freezing, and that they cannot heat homes without a backup heating source, right? Both are untrue. Today's cold climate heat pumps have the ability to heat down to negative 15 degrees Fahrenheit. Um, right? Some HVAC installers will tell have told their customers, um, to turn off the heat pumps when outside temperatures drop below freezing, and that may have been true in the past, and that's something that, as Abode is trying to educate the industry on too, and work towards just kind of elevating all heat pump solutions. Maybe heat pumps in the 1980s, 1990s, 2000s often had such a low heating output below freezing or below like 30 degrees, that installers, and we may have recommended switching them off and using that backup heat. But today's cold climate systems have enhanced heating capacity in cold weather and should be left running under all outdoor conditions, right? That's where we get that efficiency from, when it's continuously running. All right. So that's the technology. And again, I went through that briefly, but you all, again, as HMLP customers and as Hingham residents, have access to Abode's services. So you can, right after this webinar, maybe even during this webinar, go to our website, and I'll even drop it in the chat. I think we have a chat open. We do. You can go straight to the website. You can explore some of the technology, some of the services we offer, and actually schedule a consultation right off the bat there, and start to think about the adoption of heat pumps in your home. All right. So let's talk about Hingham's rebate process specifically, right? Um, the first step is to determine eligibility. So if you currently heat with oil, electric, or propane, you are eligible to tap into Hingham Municipal Light Plant's rebate program. If you currently heat with natural gas, you are designated or designed to go down the Mass Save pathway. Mass Save has a pathway for natural gas heating customers. They have all the same kind of technological considerations, but just a different rebate process and different rebates available to their customers. So for our oil, electric, and propane folks, you want to first schedule a no-cost energy assessment, right? A scheduled assessment is required to be eligible for heat pump rebates and are extremely valuable, right? They can identify cost-saving opportunities. Um, and we at Abode believe it's incredibly important that folks tighten their homes, right? Meaning we are reducing airflow in and out. My mom always told me, close the door. We're not heating the outside. It's kind of the same principle, right? We don't want a bunch of different opportunities for air to leak out of our home or air to come into our home and kind of ruin, again, that efficiency of a heat pump. So we don't want to be heating the outdoor there. HMLP is offering 50% of the project costs, up to $1,000 for weatherization. So this can be attic, wall, floor insulation, crawl space insulation. It can be air sealing, whether it be like weather stripping, caulking. HMLP is committed to 50% of the project cost, up to $1,000 there. Um, and bonus, in addition to that standard weatherization rebate, there's actually a $500 weatherization adder of completing insulation along with the installation of a heat pump. So if you're doing both, you get a little added bonus right there as a cherry on top, right? And again, this is the no cost energy assessment is required. However, the actually installation of these weatherization measures is optional. So you can kind of make that decision for yourself, but there are incentives out there for you, right? So let's get back to heat pump. The heat pump process specifically, we like to break it down in just a few steps, right? Um, you can get started, as I've mentioned before, with a no-cost consultation through Abode with one of my colleagues. Um, they are, again, extremely adept at navigating residents and especially unique resident situations through the heat pump adoption process. And they can get you on your feet, get you sure footing, and get you ready to get proposals and quotes from different installers, right? You'll gain a better understanding of how heat pumps work. You'll receive guidance on the best solutions for your home and also how to work with contractors, which again, we'll touch a little bit later on. So, we recommend that all homeowners receive 3 quotes in order to ensure that you're getting the best and most cost-effective solution, kind of allowing you to pick from a few different options and see what a few different installers are offering for your home, right? Abode hosts a participating contractor list. This can be used to start your installer search, right? A lot of the times it's where do I look? How do I find the people and putting these systems into my home? How do I know that they're reputable? Again, we do host a participating contractor list. And hopefully through this presentation, through your consultation, if you choose to have it, you'll feel prepared to engage with a contractor and have a meaningful conversation about what these heat pumps look like in your home, right? So through HMLP, we also offer, Abode also offers a no-cost quote comparison report, which actually provides homeowners with a system comparison of up to 3 proposals, and that's why we kind of recommend it for cost effectiveness, for the impact on heating and cooling compared to your previous system or previous situation, environmental benefits, among other data points. It's a pretty robust document that gives you a better understanding of what these heat pumps will be doing in your home. And it also, you are also able to schedule a kind of quick check-in with a heat pump specialist to review the report if you need a little bit more counseling or if you have a few ideas to continue bouncing off of them. So again, at all steps, Abode and Hingham are here to support you, and that's something we like to emphasize there. All right. Once you have gotten your quotes, once maybe you've thrown them through that quote comparison tool, and once you are comfortable with a design, it's time to select that installer, right, and complete the installation. And at this point, I always like to note a few program requirements. I'm not going to touch them all. I really recommend navigating to that website. And again, I'll throw it in the chat right there, abode.energy/HMLP. Um, but equipment that is installed must be on what is called the NEEP Cold Climate Air Source Heat Pump list. This is the Northeast Energy Efficiency Partnership's Cold Climate Air Source Heat Pump list. This is what Hingham uses as their qualified product list. Contractors must also file for the relevant electrical permits, must submit what is called an install QA form to Abode, must submit a rebate application to Energy New England. Um, and I'm throwing a lot at you, but again, this can all be found on that website link, right? Hingham does offer a $750 per ton rebate all the way up to $4,500. So depending on the size of that system, you'll get the corresponding rebate amount, right? So if we're thinking about weatherization, if we're thinking about heat pumps, the cost savings are starting to add up a little bit. And here is where I'm sure HMLP would love to relay it themselves. But there's another bonus, right? There's actually a $1,000 adder for whole home solutions, whole home systems, and it's pretty straightforward, right? So residents must attest on the E&E rebate application, which is a pretty basic document in which either you or your contractor can fill out, attesting that that new heat pump system will be satisfying your whole home's heating load. Um, so as long as you are installing a whole home heat pump system and you are and that is designed to satisfy your whole home's heating load, that's a great little incentive that Hingham offers as a kind of bonus adder right there. So I'm gonna pause a moment here. Again, identify that website in which y'all can navigate to the QR code, which you can take a picture of, and it'll bring you right there. Um, and I also want to take a breath and recognize a question that we get a lot is why are there so many steps? Why are there so many middlemen involved to get this rebate? Right, you're touching Abode, you're touching this Energy New England, who hosts the rebate application. You might be going to an installer, a couple installers. It's a big life decision at the end of the day, right? And Hingham Municipal Light Plant takes it seriously, right? And has built a roster of organizations to fulfill these specific needs of a resident, right? Abode, my company, are experts in heat pump technology, right? We, and mostly meaning my colleagues here, are technical experts in the technology. So Hingham has partnered with us to really advance your understanding of the technology and what they can do in your home. Energy New England, which is that organization which you will be submitting the rebate application through, handles the processing of rebates really very well. And for those of you who have ever gone through a rebate process before, you know that it can be kind of a pain in the butt. And it seems like a small piece, and maybe a lot of companies can do it, but Energy New England does it well. And again, throughout this process, I want to emphasize that we are here to support you in this journey. And there's multiple places in which we can intervene, or you can ask us for our help, and you can reach out to your heat pump specialist for whatever might be necessary in the moment, right? So this is my personal favorite part right here, working with installers. So before we get to the frequently asked questions, some tips and tricks, right, that we've kind of compiled. And number one is the one that I think is one of the most important, and it's always requesting a manual J or load calculation. So this is how HVAC companies measure your home's heating and cooling loads and actually determine what size systems are right for your home, right? So they input, they'll go around your home, they'll take measurements, they may drill into your walls to figure out insulation, they may go up to your attic or basement or crawl space. And then they'll go back to a software and they'll input all of these values of the walls, of the basement, of the attic, of the floor, of the windows, of the size of the windows, of the size of the rooms, right? A lot of different variables that affect how these systems will actually perform in your home. and are incredibly important to ensuring your long-term comfort, right? Um, we all want improved outcomes at the end of this experience, and requesting a manual J is going to be of anything that you can do, one of the most important things to do, right? It's going to make sure that your system is well designed and well performing, and it actually gives Abode a little bit more insight into your home, so we can help you choose the solutions that work for you. The second one, right? Considering upgrading your electrical panel. So this one, most homes have a 100 amp electrical panel. Um, and most homes can actually fully electrify on an existing panel like that, just with some simple planning up front. But it's no time better than the present, right? We want to begin to plan for these updates or the adoption of heat pumps now, right? As our systems maybe are aging, and we're not at that place of like system failure or emergency where we just need to throw in the quickest solution, right? We really want to be deliberate in this process. um, so this engaging with an installer, an electrician now, and saying, hey, is my panel able to handle an upgrade, or able to handle increased right capacity, or technology is kind of straining it a little bit. And just we want to ensure that that panel of 100 amps, or whatever it might be, will be sufficient to cover all of the technology. And if you are electrifying in a few different spheres, whether it's maybe you're putting an induction stove, or solar panels, these are considerations you definitely want to have, or talk through before you continue a project. All right, number three, reviewing the location of outdoor units and piping. This is kind of an aesthetic one, and there is also an impact on you all, right? So it's important to know where we're locating it, and the associated piping, um, right? And apologies for the motorcycle in the background. Actually, it brings up a relevant point. Outdoor units, if they are located near maybe somewhere you sleep, or somewhere that you're spending a lot of time, they can they can be loud. They can also cause vibrations. So just being conscientious about placement is important, and being conscientious about placing it on a pad, um, making sure that it's well supported, and that the even the outdoor design is well thought through is important. Um, I like the tell the story. My next door neighbor back in the day was one of the early adopters of central AC, at least in my neighborhood. And they put in this massive hulking AC unit that whenever it would turn on, you could probably hear it from the other side of the neighborhood. It would start with a crash and a bang, and you could hear the fan starting up and whirring and causing all sorts of commotions. Today's heat pumps aren't like that. It's not going to be as loud, as noisy, as crazy. But again, it's important to be conscientious just about where we're placing these things, so you're maximizing both kind of physical comfort, but also like audio, sensory, all sorts of comfort, right? The fourth tip is confirming assistance with the rebate process, right? Confirming that your installer will support you throughout the rebate process. If you use a participating contractor list contractor, which you are not required to do, they will have an understanding of the program and Abode's expectations of their assistance. But it's always good just to kind of get that reassurance, I would say. So those are our four big tips for working with installers right there. This is I did ask a few people within your community, what are some frequently asked questions that you get, and I compiled just three here. I think I touched a few others in the presentation, but before I open up, I see seven questions in the chat right there. So I'm actually going to be excited to welcome Tom and Brianna to help me answer some of those. Um, but before we do, I'll just cover these real quick, right? So, what does set it and leave it have to do with heat pumps, right? And this is a great question. And this a colleague shared this with me, and it's I think a great way to kind of wrap my head around. Think of driving on I-90, right? You get on in Worcester and you're going to Boston, and you're not going to get off at every off ramp and on at every on ramp. Um, Not fuel efficient. The deceleration, the acceleration, it's not healthy for the car, right? That's not how cars are designed. You can throw it in cruise control and be there in hour 15 if the traffic's good, right? Heat pumps work the same way, right? When you set the temperature, you leave it, right? Heat pumps work the best in the background. They are again work best when they are constantly on, and they can constantly kind of the fan is always whirring. Um, so again, set it. You put the temperature. Maybe the first few days you're figuring out what temperature feels good for you, what feels nice, what is kind of the right temperature. It's removing the moisture in the rooms, and then leave it because your heat pump will be working for you, right? So the second one, do I need a backup system? This is one we get a lot and we understand it, right? Because this is a new technology, and it's a technology that didn't, like we referenced, always handle low temperatures, right? But again, heat pumps of today can cover your home's heating load to low temperatures, um, right? However, we do understand that people may be skeptical, are worried, and we are okay with redundancy, right? Redundancy is sometimes okay, especially because heat pumps will satisfy all of the load for whole home applications and whole home systems. But in a partial home system, in a whole home system in which a homeowner feels comfortable keeping it in, again, the whole home will be covered. But you can always supplement that existing heating system, and that's okay too. But this is a conversation you should have with your installer and say, hey, maybe this is a concern of mine. Um, what's your approach? And if you're working with an Abode participating contractor, most likely they will say, hey, this heat pump is capable, is ready to take on a New England winter, right? And we did cover this one is the one we get a lot: heat pump solutions for homes with pre-existing ductwork. We covered that a little bit, right? It is definitely possible. There are sometimes complications. I always suggest working with your installer to make it happen, right? So with that, I'm gonna send us back to the first page there. I'll keep that. Actually, maybe I'll even stop my share there. I know that we have Brianna. I believe Tom is also in the room. There we go. I'll promote him to a panelist as well, and we can answer some of your questions here. Um, all right. And again, I will say, if the questions are of technical nature, I'm going to recommend a consultation. But we'll see how we do with this one for sure. Oh, and it says Brianna's saying that she can't start her video. Classic. You can try to prepare for everything, but not everything here.
But I will say you're doing a great job, Justin. Hi, everyone. I'm sure you can hear me. My name is Brianna. I'm the Sustainability Coordinator at the Light Plant. We're excited to be hosting this webinar tonight. And Justin, you've done a great job with the presentation. And there's a lot of attendees on, which is great to see. So thank you, everyone, for giving us your time this evening and being interested in heat pumps. We're excited to talk about it.
And I'm Tom Moran. I'm the general manager of Hingham Municipal Lighting Plants, and glad to be here and hopefully add something to this conversation.
Brilliant. And Tom and Brianna, appreciate y'all being here. Thank you again for hosting with us. I have no idea what I'm doing with this video here, so we might unfortunately have to just go audio with you folks. But we can dive in.
Yeah, audio is fine.
That works. That works. So the first one, what is the efficiency of a heat pump at 35 degrees and 10 degrees? So this one comes from David Richardson. David, it depends, right? There are some heating systems. So a heat pump on the NEEP cold climate air source heat pump list is rated at a few different temperatures. And when you're looking at a whole home solution, you want to look for a system that maintains heating capacity from usually 47 degrees down to 15, down to 5 degrees. If it's maintaining that maximum capacity at those different distinct kind of benchmarks, that's a good whole home solution, or maybe a part of a whole home solution. But I don't have like a efficiency that I can just throw. Probably in the two-ish realm, sometimes a little less, sometimes maybe into higher twos, um, but still pretty efficient for our climate that we're in there. Um, Maybe I'll pass this one off to HMLP here, from Mark. To qualify for the weatherization heat pump adder, are there requirements about when one project occurs relative to the other?
Yes, you want to make sure you do the project either 6 months, the weatherization either 6 months before the heat pump installation or 6 months after the heat pump installation. So try to do it as close to that installation as possible. If you're doing it, like a year later, we can't really say that that was connected with the heat pump. Although I will say weatherization is great for your home no matter when you do it. But you definitely try to do it close to the heat pump install if you're looking for that adder. And Justin, you're on mute, just so you know.
Gosh, Brianna, appreciate it. You would think after 3 years on Zoom, we would figure this out. I would figure this out. Um, let's see. So actually, I'll go back to the beginning here. In extreme cold, it's not necessary to turn heat pump off. Will the room just be heated not up to the desired temperature? So I think there are a few layers to this question, right? Extreme cold, it's not necessary to turn heat pumps off. So it depends on again the system. Heat pumps are being designed and are being manufactured to satisfy our heating loads at low temperature. So when we say extreme colds, again, these systems can be designed all the way down to negative 15 degrees Fahrenheit. But there is a drop off in capacity, right? And we acknowledge that. I also want to acknowledge that the time spent at in the negatives is a absolute fraction of the year, but we want to be comfortable throughout the entire year, so those fractions do count. um, so there's two things, right? If you have a backup system, then that backup system will supplement what the heat pump is not able to provide. And then the second option is a heat pump that can maintain the temperature. I guess those are my two answers there, and that is Ellen out there. So I would recommend Ellen. Maybe once if you are interested in this process and you're going through it, our specialists will be able to look at the systems that are being proposed to you and talk about their capabilities down to very low temperatures there. Maybe I'll throw this one over to HMLP. Does HMLP do the energy assessments?
So we pay for the energy assessments, and then we have Energy New England actually conduct them. So when you go to sign up for an energy assessment online, you're going to see that it's Energy New England up in the top corner and not HMLP. But that's okay. They're a partner of ours. We work with them a lot on our power procurement and all sorts of things. And they have the trained energy advisors that actually go to your home. So you will work with Energy New England on that.
And HMLP is a part owner of Energy New England.
Oh, there you go. Learn something new every day there. I appreciate that. We'll move on to an interesting question. Who verifies the actual work was done before rebates are sent by HMLP? So I quickly referenced it. There's a document that your installer is going to submit after the installation has been completed. It's called an install QA document. And actually, even taking a step back, before you even install equipment, you can get an optional pre-approval from Abode. So you can have your installer submit the system that is proposed, that is going in, and we can verify that it is going to be eligible for Hingham rebate. And then once the system actually has been installed, your installer, like I said, will submit an install QA where we ask for a paid invoice. We ask for pictures of the outdoor and indoor units. And we ask for kind of a whole bunch of other home characteristic information that allows us to kind of wrap our heads around the system that went into your home, and then kind of ensuring that it actually went into your home, because that is um, yeah, that's we want to make sure that the systems being purchased and agreed upon are actually sitting in people's homes, increasing comfort, right? So moving on to maybe one. We are in a condo complex in Hingham. We have gas currently to heat our boiler, but we do not have gas lines pumped into our condo units. Can we qualify for the HMLP rebate? And this one is coming from us from Lori. Can I throw it over to the HMLP folks here?
Tom, what do you think?
That's it.
Well, we'd have to look at it. I mean, the heating for the building, I'm assuming is central then. So I don't know. I'm not sure if I would think you would qualify under the Mass Save program, which has more benefits than the HMLP program. So you might be better off going through Mass Save initially.
I was thinking the same thing. Actually, if it is that central heating system that the gas is connected to, then maybe your landlord would be, or the owner of the condo complex would be eligible for a multi-family business rebate. Justin, I don't know if you're familiar with those on Mass Save side. I had seen that they have sort of more larger and complex rebates for condo units. So you might want to talk with whoever the building managers are and see if they could apply for that.
I think that's a fantastic idea, talking to your property manager. There also has been a kind of a development recently in the multifamily program servicing condominiums, 5 to 50 units, and kind of like stick built um, construction. So if that's that question, I'd be happy to look into, Lori, and get back to you there. And I'll work with Brianna and Tom there as well. And I think this highlights kind of a key aspect, is that not every home is perfect. Every home situation is unique. Every residence situation is unique. But we are here, and we kind of have a very good form and line of communication, so that we can answer these problems and questions very quickly and get answers to you, if not in the same day, the next day at the absolute latest, right? So I would say that my answer is, let's work on this a little bit, but everyone else, feel free to reach out and engage us in the process if you have any questions on what pathway you should be going through there. All right. We answered one from them. Susan asks, can you comment on state and federal rebates? So again, HMLP for oil, propane, and electric customers will be the kind of rebate fulfiller. If you are natural gas, like we were talking about, Mass Save is that program for you. Because you are an HMLP customer, that is kind of precludes you from involvement within the Mass Save statewide program. So this is the pathway that you want to follow here. And you also do reference federal rebates. Right, people may have heard of the Inflation Reduction Act that came out recently. There is actually a really helpful resource, and I'll try to find it as I'm talking here, that kind of explains where you should be looking. Right, I believe it's 25C is the most recent iteration of the tax credit that you are available for now, and I believe you can get up to $2,000. I'm going to share a PDF in the chat there that might be useful to this question here. We'll move on to another one here, and it's 7:46. So we'll take a few more. I don't want to take too much of everyone's nights here. Someone asks, set it and leave it. So you're done with programming, wake time, bedtime, day of week, etc., to save energy. I'm looking to install in a vacation home which is vacant for long periods I assume I would still lower the heat, turn off the AC for the vacant periods. Most likely, yes. But I would, again, recommend, um, as a not a technical expert in the field, I would recommend a heat pump consultation with one of our specialists who are going to be able to kind of like a vacation home or a rental home and talk through some of the different kind of considerations you want to make, especially when sizing a system like that, because that's another, again, kind of supplemental cost. There was a question: can you address costs of systems? And it varies. We see costs sometimes all over the place, right? Installers are still in this kind of period of time where they are figuring out what is reasonable to charge residents, and that is why we really recommend getting multiple quotes, because then you will be able to see in front of you installers proposing maybe even similar systems at different costs, and you can make a determination on your own and with the support from Abode to say, look, I think maybe the maybe not the cheaper one, but the middle one is going to deliver a better outcome for you, and that's the one I want to go with. Or maybe it's the more expensive one is better technology and is going to heat your homes down to low temperatures throughout the winter. So there's definitely considerations there when considering the cost of equipment, and I wouldn't want to just throw out a number. It's something that can kind of move back and forth, I would say. Let's see. What is let's see. They're still coming in, so they're messing up my feed over here. But that's our questions are good. Are there ways to estimate the electric load of a heat pump system after the conversion based on square footage or other metric? I'm considering solar as well and would like to try to figure out what size system would be best to cover the additional load of the heat pump. And it seems like this question: are there ways to estimate the electric load of a heat pump system after the conversion? I'm guessing this is, again, I would say technical question. I think I understand what you're asking in that you want to install solar that is capable of generating enough electricity to satisfy, right, the heat pump's um, demand. And there are ways to do that. I think a load calculation is going to be your best way. Electricians also offer, and probably HVAC or installers offer, kind of a look at your home and as it relates to electrical loads, and they can say, hey, you have a washer and dryer, you have an oven, you have a heat pump, you have all these certain things, and you need this amount of capacity in your panel and this much amount of solar generation to satisfy that all. But I do think, again, like passing it off to a consultation is the route I'll go on here. Let's see. Again, 7:50. So maybe we'll just take two more questions. Um, and again, I'm seeing some in the Q&A that I think are going to be better answered by a specialist. So I'll kind of hold off on answering those ones. Um, so let's the set it and forget it. I love, so I'll dive into this one from John. Heat pumps can support multiple internal air handlers. Regarding set it and forget it, why run a room air handler if you are not using the room? Pertains especially to only heating upstairs bedrooms in winter and using dehumidification during summer. We think about air handlers as room-specific zones and treat them almost like light switches. When not using room, turn the air handler down or even off. So this, what I would say is that each home's design is different, right? So if we're considering a home with 6 rooms in the upstairs, you're not necessarily going to want 6 mini splits, or you're not going to want maybe 6 vents, right? Some recommendations and some proposals of systems actually take into mind of leaving a door open and one space helping to heat another space. I was actually on a call with a colleague earlier today when we were talking about undersizing a second floor system in the expectation that a first floor system, that heat would kind of make up for that undersized nature of the first floor or the second floor system. There's just a lot of considerations, right? The set it and forget it isn't a set and fast law in heat pumps. And if I made, if I kind of posited it as that, I apologize. There are always going to be different circumstances, different ways to approach um, uh, heat pump systems within the home, and how each unit is interacting with another unit is going to kind of be my answer to that one there. Um, and we'll take maybe a last, what is step-by-step process, maybe as a last good one to end on, just so people are walking away with just a clear and cut expectation of what is expected of them. Maybe I'll throw it to the HMLP team to finish this off here, if that's all right with them.
Sure. So first, you want to go ahead and schedule that no-cost energy assessment. Get on the books with Energy New England so that they can come out as soon as possible. Ideally, you can have that assessment done before your heat pump gets installed, so that if you want to take some steps to weatherize and then reduce your system costs, you can do that in advance. But that assessment, that scheduling of the assessment is going to be the first step. Then you're going to look into heat pump contractors and start getting some quotes to compare. And that's when you're welcome to start engaging Abode in the process. You can have them actually run a quote comparison for you once you get a couple of quotes. We have a participating contractor list if you need help finding a contractor. We kind of have all the resources there that you might need to piece together what you want for your home. And then once you know what you want to do, you can go ahead with that install. As Justin mentioned, you have the option to be pre-approved for the rebate and make sure that you're meeting all of the requirements. And that includes checking if your equipment is cold climate certified. That includes making sure it's going to run at certain efficiencies at certain temperatures. And Abode is the technical expert in this. So I personally recommend the pre-approval if you can, but that's not required. So once you pick a quote you like, you can go ahead with the install. After installation, there are just two forms you need to fill out. One is your contractor needs to submit the post-install quality assurance form to Abode. They're going to look at that system, verify what was installed, and then you're going to get that confirmation back. The second form is to us at HMLP. It's the rebate application so that we know you did this install and we can send you a check. So we are going to look through the details of that. We're going to look at the Abode analysis on the system and process that rebate. Hopefully it gets approved, and then we will be sending you a check in the mail. So that's kind of the whole process. A lot of words, but all in all, it is just 3 steps, I believe. I think I just described 3 steps. So you get scheduled for that assessment, get some quotes to compare, pick somebody, and then do the install, submit the forms. I guess that's 5 steps. But we do have it all laid out on our website, hmlp.com. So you're welcome to go there. The link that Justin has is also great if you want to scan that QR code right now on your phones, or take a screenshot if you're on a mobile device. That website is very helpful, and you're welcome to talk to Abode at any point if you have questions, or call myself at the light plant. We're always available to help.
Brilliant. And with that, I want to acknowledge we didn't get to all the questions. I'll follow up with those who we didn't answer our questions. I want to thank Tom and Brianna again for this partnership, for hosting us tonight. I want to thank everyone for attending, and let's install some heat pumps, everybody. All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Bye, y'all.